Welcome everyone to today's second virtual meeting of the spring semester. It's great to have all of you here, and if you take a look at our agenda, we definitely have a lot going on today. For those of you new to Toastmasters, in a typical meeting like today, we have three sections. The first, which is prepared speeches, the second, which is our table topics or impromptu section, and the third, which are our evaluations. So definitely a lot going on. And if at any point in time you have a question of what's going on, or maybe you forget how many more speakers there are left, we do have links to the agenda, which I just reposted. So if you want to refer to that agenda anytime throughout the meeting, you're more than welcome to. Before we go ahead and get started though, would anyone like to volunteer and read our mission statement, which is right here on the bottom left corner of the screen?
Sure, I got you.
All right, go ahead, Nadia.
We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in a greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Awesome. Thank you, Nadia. Woo, round of applause. Thank you. And now, since Slate is running a little bit late, I'll go ahead and transition into my role as Toastmaster of the evening. And again, welcome everyone. It's lovely to have all of you here. We have the three sections, but we do have three key important roles who will help us keep track during the meeting, make sure that we're all set to go. And so with that, we have our grammarian, our all counter, and our timer. So today's grammarian is Tori. Tori, if you could go ahead and introduce your role and what you'll be doing throughout the meeting.
Okay, cool. So I'm grammarian, so I did the word of the day today, which is optimal. You'll get a little thumbs up in the reaction if you say the word of the day or use it in a sentence. It means best or most favorable, and it is an adjective. So as grammarian, I'm just gonna really be focusing on structure of sentences and do it for each person as well. So that's pretty much all there is to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tori. Next, we will have our timer explain the role. Scott, if you could go ahead and explain what your role is as timer.
Oh, yeah, we'll do, Tricia. Oh, hey there, you guys. So, my name's Scott. And my job for tonight is going to be timer. So for our prepared speakers, such as Justin and Adanna, I'll be keeping track as far as how long y'all's speeches will be for, and during table topics, I'll also be keeping track as far as how much time each of us spend as far as on each question. And for that, I'll turn it back to you, Tricia.
Thank you, Scott. And finally, for our last role, we have all counter, which is Courtney Scott. I believe she's not quite yet in the Zoom meeting right now, so I'll go ahead and explain her role. In her role as all counter, and I can go ahead and fill in for her until she joins. But that's essentially counting any of the filler words or filler phrases that anyone might use, such as like, as, extended and. Sometimes it can be very specific to the person, so I like having that role because it can vary person to person, and just getting that feedback is always good to know, especially when you're preparing for a speech in class or another project. With that, we have all of our reporter roles announced, and now I will go ahead and introduce our first speaker of the meeting. Today, Justin Hurd will be presenting on what is a mentor in his presentation mastery pathway, level 2. Please welcome to the stage, Justin Hurd.
Thank you, Tricia. What is a mentor? I can think of no better example than Garrick Scott. I met Garrick when I was attending the Georgia Academy for the Blind from 2011 to 2012. There he taught a class twice a month on independence. He challenged us to think about, what does it mean for a blind person to achieve equality, opportunity, and security? There are 4 examples that come to mind that really show how he's impacted my life. And the first was at the school itself in one of the classes. We were talking about whether we would trust a blind barber to cut our hair. He said, if you would, go on the left side of the room, and If not, then go on the right side of the room. Now I went on the right side. So we had a discussion about this, of course, and he said, well, talking to me, why would you not trust the blind barber? And I said, well, I really like my hair. I mean, I don't know if it's the best looking, but, I have a very specific way I like it done. And I don't know if I could trust him. He said, well, would you question a sighted person's credentials to cut your hair? And I said, well, no, if they were at the barbershop, no. So why would you question a blind person? And I said, well, I don't think I could cut someone's hair. I would not want anyone trusting me cutting their hair. I don't think it's doable. And he replied, well, that's discrimination. He showed me that I had put my expectations of what someone else could do on them based on what I thought I could do. And because of that, I would choose someone who is equally qualified in every way, but the only difference is that they don't have a disability. And that really opened my eyes and is something I've had to grapple with when dealing with other blind students that come to me and tell me careers or dreams that they have. I cannot put my expectations onto them. The second also occurred in the class. We had another discussion on whether blind people should take the offer to pre-board planes or jump to the front of the line at Disney World. And after much discussion, his conclusion was that if a blind person does not have another disability or does not have the independent skills that allow them to successfully navigate a line or stand for an extended amount of time, if they don't have any of those things, either of those things, then they should not go to the front of the line. Because if we really want equality, we have to act like equals. We have to demand the treatment that we expect and not take something just because it's a nice perk. And I've struggled with this as well since then. On a Southwest flight, it is very convenient to pre-board. If I pre-board, I get a better seat. And so each time, if I take a plane or go in, if I'm offered to go to the front of the line, I have to battle with it. And sometimes I have said yes, and I've gone on, and sometimes I've said no. And it's a tough choice each time, and something I struggle with. The third example actually happened at an airport. We were going to Baltimore for a seminar, and so my parents dropped me off at the curb, and we met Garrick there. So I'm standing there and I'm holding out my hand, and Garrick goes, "All right, let's go," and he took off. And I should explain that Garrick's blind himself, so I'm sitting here just like, hello, are you gonna have help or what's going on? And Garrick is gone. So I'm just running after him. I'm just tapping my cane furiously, just tap, 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 tap. And I saw something I'd never seen before. Garrick navigated an airport with perfect confidence, a place full of crowds and obstacles and varying layouts. He confidently asked questions and never took an arm for help. He just knew where he was going. I didn't know blind people could travel like that. And the fourth was in Baltimore South. I was using a cane at the time that went up to my sternum, and it was pretty heavy. And I wasn't able to use it fully. I was kind of tapping it more in the center and then right, where you're supposed to go all the way left and right. And so one day I'm walking, and I'm a fast walker too. This thing's short. So I'm walking along, doing my little cane. And all of a sudden I just went, bam, and I slammed bodily into Garrick. And he said, "That's it." And he gave me this long, light cane. I went up to about my nose, and he said, "You're using this thing until we leave." And I grumbled about it and was really upset, But I was so excited to go home and use the other one. When I went to go home, I threw down the cane. I was like, I'm done with this thing. And I picked up the other one and put it right back down. It felt like a golf club. It was short. It was too heavy. I couldn't do it. And I've never used a cane like that. The longer, light design was optimal for me. So what is a mentor? Well, a mentor is someone that takes us down a path that we either want to go on to achieve a goal or helps us achieve goals that we never dreamed of achieving. A mentor is someone that cares about us and wants to see us succeed in life. They can be role models, people that we look up to. They have something that we want to have, and so we go to them. And there are mentors in all areas of life, whether in art, music, Toastmasters, business, sports, our spiritual lives. We can all find a mentor. So I would challenge everyone today to think of the area where you don't think you need a mentor, where you may not think you'll find one, and go find one in that area. Because you never know what will happen, and you never know what kind of person you'll become from that experience. So may we all find a mentor to guide us to achieving our dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your perspective with that speech. Thank you for sharing about the role models in your life and that call to action for all of us to reflect on our own lives as well, and where we might be able to find a mentor that could guide us in a certain direction. With that, we'll take about 30 to 45 seconds to leave Justin any feedback. This will be done through the Zoom chat feature. So if you open up the chat on the bottom bar, open it up, it says to everyone should be the default. You just click that down arrow, go ahead and navigate to Justin Hurd. And if you'd like to send feedback, we have 30 seconds to do so. All right, and while you're finishing up with those evaluations and those quick feedback, I will go ahead and introduce our second speaker for today's meeting. Adanna Onwuka will be giving a speech titled Farewell Caterpillar, as a eulogy and apology about the beautiful life of her childhood friends. Please welcome to the stage, Adanna Onwuka.
Caterpillar in the tree, how you wonder who you'll be. Can't go far, but you can always dream. Wish you may and wish you might. Don't you worry, hold on tight. I promise you that there will come a day. Butterfly, fly away. They did not fly. They did not get their wings. They did not see the light. But they did ignite curiosity. They did ignite creativity. They did ignite a young child's wings. It was curiosity that killed that cat. But in this case, curiosity killed the caterpillars. A young girl who saw with glee tiny little creatures crawling among a pile of wood took it upon herself to catch these green caterpillars and bring them to a new home. Home, sweet home. Now, that little girl really genuinely thought that she was being creative by putting these bright caterpillars in an old washing machine filled with leaves. She thought this enclosed dark space would be an ideal home for them. She truly believed that after a couple of days, beautiful butterflies would form and fly out from the dark when she opened that washing machine cover. That little girl was mistaken. That little girl cried. That little girl was me. Oops. This is not only an apology to those beautiful little caterpillars, but a heartfelt goodbye that is long overdue. I stand with you, the creepy crawlers, today to hopefully tell you a message of hope on the lives of those innocent caterpillars that regrettably died. There are 4 stages to a caterpillar's life: the egg, the larva, the pupa, and finally adult. These caterpillars only experience half of their life. Being born from an egg into a beautiful larva, their half-lives really show that life on Earth is not eternal, and that we must live life to the fullest. And oh boy, did they live life to the fullest. Anytime that little girl went outside to spy on her caterpillars, all they were doing was relaxing in the sun or eating some delicious leaves. It is said that the only goal of the caterpillar is to eat, and I'm not complaining. They didn't bother anyone. All they did was live. Now all they do is live in their hearts. When those caterpillars in the dark, rusty washing machine died, the tears of that young girl showed that they were loved. Before placing them in their new home, that little girl handled them with care, observing them with optimal curiosity. Just like the caterpillars, that little girl was yet to be all the way grown up. Unlike the caterpillars, that little girl is now me, blossoming into an adult. In my heart, those caterpillars are now in a better place, flying as beautiful butterflies. Before, as a kid, I saw them as empty, lifeless corpses, but now, as an adult, I see them as a ray of sunshine that was brought into my life. They are now in caterpillar heaven, flying as they please. Lastly, I would like to end on this note. Butterfly, fly away, butterfly, fly away, got your wings, now you can't stay. Take the dreams and make them all come true. Butterfly, fly away, butterfly, fly away, you've been waiting for this day. All along you've known just what to do. Butterfly, 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 fly away. Farewell, caterpillar. The end. Any questions? I think I went under time, but
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much for your speech, Adanna, and what a speech. It's great to have you back again here with Toastmasters, and I just love like the circular structure and it coming back again to the awesome intro that you had. So thank you again, Adanna. And now we will take 30 to 45 seconds to leave Adanna any feedback you'd like to give, both positive and also some things she could improve on. So that's again through the Zoom chat feature, just change to whoever to Adanna's name, Adanna Onwuka, and we'll have about 30 to 45 seconds. And while you're filling that out, kept trying to get in contact with our supposed third speaker, Imani, but it seems she's still not yet on the Zoom call. So Jackson, be prepared, you're up next. All right, and while you are finishing up those final bits of feedback for Adanna, I'll go ahead and introduce our third and final speaker of the evening, Jackson Meyers. You'll be giving his icebreaker speech on why you should eat lab-grown meat. Please welcome to the stage, Jackson Meyers.
All right, thank you, everybody. So, can everyone hear me okay? Cool. So in today's world, young people are the leading voices in environmental reform. We recognize the toll our lifestyles have taken on the planet. In our role as advocates, we have a responsibility to be pragmatic, supporting policies based on science opposed to gut feeling. Often, that means striking a balance of convenience and effectiveness to get the most amount of people on board. Now, a somewhat controversial topic in environmental reform is meat agriculture. This is a serious topic that deserves a pragmatic conversation. Now, I grew up in the South, and my culture revolves around food. I grew up eating Christmas ham, catching and doing fish fries, I even raised and harvested my own backyard chickens. Now, these are fond memories that make up a huge part of my identity. And I totally understand why some people cringe or get defensive when this topic is brought up. But unfortunately, we really can't afford to ignore the costs. So, raising animals for food accounts for 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. That puts it on par with the transportation sector. The fact is, farming meat is just plain less efficient than crops. While providing less than 1/5 of the world's calories, farming meat requires 4/5 of the world's farmland. Now think about all the water consumed in the United States. Drinking, watering the lawn, manufacturing. Now meat consumption accounts for nearly 1/3 of that. A single pound of beef requires 1,800 gallons of water for 1 pound of beef. That's the amount of water you use in 100 showers in just 1 pound of beef. Do you guys remember those little advertisements we see in school that said, turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth? Yeah, that's literally a drop in the bucket. Now, as the rest of the world develops, the demand for meat is only going to continue. Now, with regards to the greenhouse gas emissions, we also have to consider antibiotic resistance. In 2014, the World Health Organization warned that the threat of the situation is becoming dire. They quote, "Antibiotic microbial resistance is one of our most serious health threats in the United States. More than 2 million people are sickened every year with antibiotic-resistant infections." Now, feedlots have been directly associated with the emergence of superbugs. In the US in 2016, 80% of all antibiotics were given as feed additives. This is said to be necessary to improve the overall health of the animals and produce larger yields. Now, studies show that up to 90% of these antibiotics are excreted and dispersed in surface runoff. This paints a horrifying picture of indiscriminate antibiotic use. Now, we really need to think of environmental reform as a numbers game. The obvious choice in this situation is to eat less meat, but we can actually go a step further. The new field of cultured meat is allowing people to mitigate the effects of climate change without sacrificing their quality of life. Now, yeah, lab-grown meat sounds pretty appetizing, but I'd be willing to bet you won't tell a difference between a chicken nugget or a hamburger one way or the other. Now, both of those are the two most commonly consumed types of meat in the United States. Oxford found that cultured meat can provide up to a 96% lower greenhouse gas emissions, 99% lower land use, and 96% lower water use. Now, the variation depends on the type of meat we're comparing it to, but beef is the biggest culprit in all of these areas. Now, if you're concerned about safety, growing meat in a lab is nothing new. We've been doing it for decades. A sample is harmlessly taken from a target animal, sterilized, and then grown in a bioreactor, which is essentially a giant petri dish. Now, individual fat and muscle cells are combined to create surprisingly similar flavors. Now, the two of the biggest cultured meat startups, Just Inc. and Memphis Meats, both claim the only antibiotic use necessary is a small amount used to sterilize the initial sample. And there's no reason to believe that this meat is dangerous. if you look at the cells under the microscope, they are completely identical to the cells still attached to the animal. It's also much easier to test the health standards in a bioreactor than animals in a feedlot. Now, cost is the biggest hurdle, but you can expect to see cost-competitive products on shelves in a year from now, and you should buy them. Let's not allow unfounded mistrust jeopardize one of our best hopes in reducing emissions. Let's vote with our wallets on this one. Thank you.
And thank you, Jackson, for that very informative, but still very entertaining and lots of nuggets of knowledge to learn from there. So thank you again, Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. I love having controversial conversations with people I barely know. So it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's given me a thought to try again, because I know there's like the Impossible Meat. I tried it once and I don't know, maybe just I didn't prepare it right, so I didn't appeal to me, but you know, it's given me second thought to try it again. Yeah.
Well, that would be plant-based alternatives.
That's
but
true.
I'm really excited. I've never tried Labyrinth Meat before, but I'd see an interesting reason why. I'm a little apprehensive, but I only see good reasons too.
Yeah. All right, with that, you feel free to leave Jackson feedback again through the Zoom chat feature. We'll give about 30 to 45 seconds for that. All right, and while you're finishing up sending Jackson that feedback, our timer, Scott, were all of our speakers in time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, they were.
All right, thank you, Scott. And with that, we can take another 30 seconds to go ahead and vote for your first and second best speaker and send those votes to, let's see, Noah, are you in the middle of driving still? Or were you able to? Okay.
Nope, I'm all set. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, then go ahead and send those votes directly to Noah Kuranga. Again, through the Zoom chat feature, be sure to specify your first and your second best choice. All right, and while you're finishing up those final votes, those final slips of feedback to people, I will go ahead and introduce the second section of our meeting, which is table topics. Now we do have a person leading that section, and so to introduce that section, what goes on, what to look out for, and lead the section, I introduce to the stage Nadia Dowlatkhah. Nadia?
Hi, thanks, Tricia. It's actually pronounced Dowlatkhah, but it's not like we've known each other since middle school.
I'm sorry, Nadia.
Okay, can you give me like share screening privileges?
Yes. Let me find your name participants. Actually, Noah, I think I was kicked off being a co-host. Can you go ahead and give Nadia screen sharing ability?
Absolutely. Okay, you should have it.
Okay, let me try. I think it's not letting me.
It usually takes a moment.
Oh, it says I have to like quit Zoom and then come back in to do it. Is that cool, y'all?
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
Okay, give me a sec.
Oh, okay.
All right, I hope that worked. Again, I apologize for the difficulties, but again, that's just the realities. And even though it's not the most optimal having our meetings in this format, it is a learning experience, and it is something that a skill you can certainly take in wherever you go, especially just learning how to position yourself in front of a camera, how to communicate.
Privileges again?
And I think we should be good now.
Okay.
Yes,
Sure.
I think that should be from Noah.
Yes, correct.
It says you disable. It says it's still disabled. The host disabled participant screen share.